Green Man! 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 Holy YouTube video, Green Man!
Hey, it's Friday, it's time for me to go through some of my birthday books again. I've got 3 birthday books every Friday. Basically, a birthday book is a book that came out September 1969, the same month as I did. So these babies in front of us here, born the same month as I was. So we've got Metal Men, number 39, from September 1969. The Beauty of the Beast. No, please don't hurt him. I'm going to go a little bit in depth into what happens in the book. So we've got The Lizard Lives, from The Amazing Spider-Man, number 76. Awesome cover there. The lizard is a cool looking villain. And then we have a bit of Silver Age madness, as I call it, with the quirkiness of the DC cover there of Superman in Action Comics 380. The Confessions of Superman, where he's confessing to a number of different crimes that he committed. Oh, but you have to read the book to find out why he's done these crimes, how he's done these crimes, did he even do these crimes? You have to read the book to find out. There's a little more information about all the comics in my blog as well. If you want to check the link in the blog below, it will tell you more about them, give you a few of my thoughts, give you a couple of facts about the comic. I'm just going to go through the comics now. I don't really see people doing this on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's something that's not really wanted or appreciated, but I'm going to do it anyway because, you know, everyone does their own thing on YouTube, makes up their own content, and I think this is just, I think this is interesting enough. So basically, here we go, the startling new Metal Men from September 1969, number 39. There you go. At the front there, we have Platinum, Tina as she's called. Now, in this load of the Metal Men, apparently, you'll see at the front here, while their creator Doc Magnus lay in a deep coma, the Metal Men were condemned to destruction, and destroyed they were, or so the world thought. But through the efforts of the mysterious Mr. Conan, they are saved. Not only saved, but with the help of the dedicated scientists and technicians who are part of Mr. Conan's organisation, changed. Changed so they are no longer recognisable as the old Metal Men. So there you go, the Metal Men now look very much like human beings. They can still have their metal powers, but like they don't look like robots at all. And I'm not sure when this happened exactly, but it's quite controversial. There's a little letters page in there later on where half of them are like going, "This is a stupid idea," and half of them are saying, "Oh yeah, this is really cool." I get the feeling this is around the same time that they changed Wonder Woman. Remember, they infamously changed Wonder Woman so she no longer had superpowers and was more like an Emma Peel from the Avengers, the old UK sort of spy kind of TV program. But yeah, so we start off, Tina is now a model. She's doing her modelling job. These are the other guys calling her up on the old vid phone or whatever, and, you know, basically chatting her up and telling her what a beauty she is. Sort of stuff you wouldn't get away with in a comic nowadays, probably. But anyway, the boss of them, their sort of their new, I don't know what you'd call him, their mentor, this guy, Mr. Conan, gives them a job at Magna Studios, which just recently reopened. And so they go along there in their various cars, and there's something spying on them. And Tina's sort of, she thinks something's the matter, but she's not quite sure what. Anyway, so she has a part in this Mr. Fettuccine. Mr. Fettuccine, my favourite director. I shouldn't be saying that in an accent because he's not saying that, but yeah. Tina, cara mia, you are as lovely as ever. So she gets the part in this, what turned out to be a monster movie. Doesn't actually say what it is, but I kind of get the feeling this is like a play. I'm assuming the film they were making may have been like Phantom of the Opera or something like that, and the story certainly has got Phantom of the Opera kind of themes to it, whereas there's a guy hiding out in the old movie studios, and basically he sees Tina after years of being in solitude, thingamabobbed solitude. What is that bloody word? I don't know. I'm useless with words. But here's the letters page where you get people for the change and against the change, and things haven't changed with the fans' furor if things happen they don't want. Someone said here, Concerning the new Metal Men, the one thing that can describe them is the word terrible. Then someone else says, I demand that you bring back the original Metal Men with Doc Magnus and put them back in action fighting crime and injustice. And I demand it now. Someone else says, I think it's the stupid thing you could ever do was to change the Metal Men. I think anyone who liked the change is as stupid as the writer who thought up the whole idea. So there you go, you've got the invective of fans. It's just as strong back then in 1969 as it probably is now. Right then, so this is the bloke dressed up as the monster for the movie, and then he's suddenly attacked from behind and killed by this person here, who later kidnaps Tina because he's been alone on his what is the bloody word I'm thinking? Something or whatever, exile. He's had self-sentence? No, that's not the right word. I don't know, self-committed exile, hiding out in this movie studio. And now the movie studio has been reopened to make this movie. He's seen Tina, been overcome by her beauty and his loneliness at not having human companionship, so he's kidnapped her basically. And right, so these are the Metal Men in their human looking. That's obviously Mercury with the red hair and the same attitude that he had. The other, so one of the things that is a bit confusing with this actually is knowing which Metal Men is which, because there's quite a few people in the Metal Men, and knowing who everyone is meant to be is a bit confusing. Also, the police turn up as well, and so they've got to try and hunt out for Tina whilst not giving away their powers, because the Metal Men are meant to be dead. They're meant to have been executed, so they can't let anybody realise that they are the Metal Men. So when they're separated, they still have the Metal Men powers, the stretching, the strength, breaking through walls, that kind of thing, squeezing through tiny spaces with their Metal Men-like bodies. But yeah, they can't let it be seen by the police, otherwise they'll be in trouble. Right, so Tina wakes up, she banged her head as she was being abducted, and then she hears the story of this guy. Now this guy's name is Hugo Stark. I think it was in my last episode when I did the Challenges of the Unknown thing, and I had a guy called Stark as well. Another villain called Stark, which is quite strange. I don't know if it was written by the same person or whether whether DC were having a pop at Tony Stark. I don't know, from Iron Man from Marvel. But I found it quite interesting that in the same month there are two protagonists called Stark, or antagonists, I'm not sure which is the correct phrase. But anyway, this guy was a stuntman back in the day, and then he had a terrible accident and became hideously disfigured. Once they saved his life, but he turned into a hunchback, monstery type thing, and he's been hiding out ever since. I don't know what came over me. The long years alone, your beauty. I only knew I had to have you with me at any cost. I had to have human companionship again. I had to have you. And Tina's thinking, oh, poor Hugo. How can I tell him? I'm not human. I'm a robot. Right, so yep. A couple of security guys turn up. Hugo goes, "Grah! Hugo smash!" And yep, beats them around. Nobody's taking Tina from me, nobody. And then the Metal Men find her. They can't give away their powers because they don't want the police to know who they are. Right, and then one of the policemen nearly shoots at the guy, but because he doesn't want Tina to be injured, I think this is Iron. Maybe I think Iron stops him from doing it. But what he doesn't realise, when he grabs hold of the gun, he squeezes too hard and he leaves his fingerprints, indentations in the gun. So he's worried that the police are going to see that and realise that, something's not quite right about him. Right, so anyway, they manage to chase after this guy. He beats up Mercury by the looks of it. It's quite strong. He throws Tin around by his neck by the looks of it. I think it's Tin he's beating up there. But yeah, because he hasn't got the red whiskers, as you see. It must be Tin. So he's knocking him about. He got the strength of a bull elephant, apparently, this guy. And he manages to run away, still holding Tina. I'm not sure why Tina isn't fighting him, to be honest. I know she feels sorry for him, but she's still got the Metal Men powers. She thinks she'd get away from him somehow. But anyway, in the ensuing chase, some lights get knocked over, causing a fire. And as they abandon the studio, he refuses to leave. He could probably be saved, but I think he's had enough. I won't be taken where people can come to look, to stare at me. And then as they run away, he shouts from the top of the balcony, Tina! Thank you, Tina. Thank you for your human compassion. I never meant any harm. I just loved you. He's gone. And she thinks, poor thing. Poor Hugo. Perhaps it is better this way. I just couldn't have told you that this human you loved is actually nothing but a robot. And how can a robot show human compassion? but she's got a tear coming from the corner of her eyes. So that's human compassion, because unless she's melting platinum, that's human compassion right there, Tina. Right, now they have to find a way to get rid of this gun with the fingerprints in it before the police discover it. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole of the story there. Hints here at some possible future intrigues. Yeah, Dr. Magnus, there's news about your creator, Dr. Magnus, is the last thing we hear here. So we heard he was in a coma, but this, I can't remember what his name again is now, but Mr. Conan, yeah, he tells you there's some news about Dr. Magnus. And also the cop that was hanging around in the studio trying to help them, he's got some questions he wants to ask her about her friends. He's a bit suspicious, I think, about her group of friends, meaning the other metal men, so maybe he's twigged that there's something not quite right about them. Right, over we go now to a Marvel book, another one of my birthday books, September 1969. This is The Amazing Spider-Man 76. I did wonder if this was maybe the first Lizard, but I didn't think it probably was, because I knew he was quite an old spider villain. And in fact, he debuted 70 issues before this, so he debuted way back in 63 in number 6, Amazing Spider-Man number 6, The Lizard Lives. The Lizard, of course, being Curt Connors. Well, he was actually a friend of Spider-Man. I think he was a professor at his school, and Spider-Man, was a friend of his. But in this issue, all the Lizard remembers of his tiny lizard brain. It was the last time he fought Spider-Man. Spider-Man defeated him, and he wants his revenge, basically. Meanwhile, Peter Parker has tried to talk to that's the Lizard thinking there about his wife and son. At the beginning of the story, we see Spider-Man. They're taking Curt Connors' wife and son to a hotel so they can hide up while the Lizard's at large, because they're worried that he might think in his tiny little brain to go after them. And then we get the usual sort of Spider-Man stuff, where all these little intrigues are going on in his normal guise rather. So because he's been so busy with being Spider-Man, he's not been able to keep up with talking to Aunt May on the phone while she's away. He's not been able to sort of have a chat with his flatmate Harry Osborn. Literally, he's walking out as Harry Osborn's coming in, and then later on we see him going to visit Gwen, his girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, and she's sort of like, Peter, tell me your secret. Why are you always running out on me? Why is something important always coming up and you have to rush off to deal with it? Why don't you tell me what your secret is? If you love me, tell me what's going on. So yes, that's typical Peter Parker, Stan Lee written intrigue and angst and dialogue, and how the human side of him messes around with his secret side. And then even more dealings going on. We've got Gwen's father, George Stacy, is it? He's captain of the police, and he wants to talk to Parker about what he knows about Spider-Man. He's like, oh, you're always getting pictures of Spider-Man. You always seem to sort of know where he is. You're able to find him, to get pictures of him. Tell us your secret. How do you manage to track him down for these? And then you can see Peter Parker in the corner. He's doing the old finger in the collar bit. He's getting a bit hot under the collar, because he's like, what can I say here to get out of this? So basically he says, oh yeah, we'll meet up later and we'll talk about it. So that's another little pressure for him. That's all it's about with Spider-Man. He's in the end, it got too much for me, actually, how much he was always under pressure and things were never resolved, and that kind of put me off him after a good few years. But yeah, it was quite fun at the time when you first was reading it. Then it became a bit sort of tropey and a bit over the top. Anyway, so the rest of the comic is pretty much dedicated to a cool bash 'em up beat down between Spider-Man and Lizard. Lizard pretty much gets the upper hand because Spider-Man doesn't want to hurt his friend Curt Connors, but obviously the Lizard, with his savagery, has no qualms about hurting our hero Spider-Man. So he's got strong claws, but he's able to slice his webbing. He can walk on walls. I've kind of forgotten about that. And of course he's got his tail that can, very powerful. Breaks the bloody wall there with one swing of his tail. And also when Spider-Man hits him, unless he puts his real strength behind it, like he throws him into a wall over here, but he forgets about his skin is like armour. So unless Spider-Man really lets go, he's not really going to be able to hurt the lizard. But because he's got it in the back of his mind he does want to hurt the lizard, he's not really being an effective combatant. And one of the things I always liked about the fight scenes I used to like back in the day was when you'd have two opponents, one-on-one, fighting, and all the while Spider-Man is thinking about what he's going to do, how he's going to outwit his opponent, what strategies he's got up, and quite often he'll also be sort of quipping as he goes along. He doesn't so much in this one actually, but normally you'd have his thought bubbles thinking about what he's going to do. You'd have him talking to throw his opponent off guard, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's a lot less talking in this one. Maybe it's because he's concentrating too much on trying to take him down without A, getting killed himself, and B, hurting him too much because, as I say, he's his friend. Right, and in fact, the lizard gets the upper hand because of this indecision of his. Knocks him groggy. In fact, here he had a chance to kill him. This is a bit unusual I didn't think this was weird. I thought it was weird. He says, "He makes sure you're not playing possum." He bashes him again in the back of the head, and he says, "Still alive, are you? You're stronger than I thought you were. Not that it will do you any good." And then he leaves him. He says, "But there's little satisfaction in finishing off a barely conscious Spider-Man. I'll wait till you're on your feet again." So that was a bit strange for the lizard, actually. I thought the lizard would just break his neck or bite his head off, but yeah. So I'm not sure if that's a dodgy bit of writing there or characterisation, not quite as it was. But anyway, Spider-Man refuses to give up. He doesn't want him going off and committing crimes against people who've got no chance against him. And he's like, "You've got no chance against me. You're already beaten." And then Spider-Man comes up with a plan. He doesn't actually thought bubble you what the plan is. But all this now, while he's been about to be thrown off the edge of the building, he's maintaining that this is a plan. Although we're not privy to what this plan is. I mean, so I don't know if maybe he's waiting. Maybe he's going to tend to drop, and then he's going to come back up again and get the lizard afterwards. I'm not too sure what the idea is, but we never get to see what the plan is because as he's dropping off, and he's like, if you can see it here, it worked. It worked. He dropped me. Then I spin round and web onto a nearby window. Then I swing in and wait for him to come to me. So he's got some plan for maybe he just wants to rest up. I'm not really too sure. But then he gets saved in mid-fall by the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and he's like, "Let go of me, Matchhead, you'll spoil everything." And then Johnny Storm takes him back up to the roof where the fight was going on, and Lizard is still there. And at the end of the thing, friend or foe is the next week's story, and he's worried that Human Torch is going to hurt his friend. His hurt friend Kurt Connors. He says, "The torch brought me to the one place I wanted to get away from, the rooftop where the lizard is. Unlike me, that flaming kibitzer will use all his power to destroy him, and I'm still too weak to stop the torch or save the lizard." Okay, that's what he's thinking there. So he's worried that the torch is going to permanently damage Kurt. But I wouldn't have thought he would do, because I'm pretty sure Human Torch has got a no-kill clause in his superhero contract as much as any other hero has. So I wouldn't have thought he'd do him permanent harm. But yeah, that's the angsty ending for Spider-Man there. So you've got to get, right, if you want to find out what happens next, you've got to get number 77 from October 1969. Right, then lastly for this week's look at my birthday books, we've got Action Comics 380. Right, bit of, I call it Silver Age madness. The covers that DC had at this time were really kind of like just a bit of fun, really. It's like Superman is typing out all his confessions there. "I committed super sabotage, I robbed the US Mint, my $1 million crimes, my secret life as a burglar, terror was my secret weapon, I spied against my country." These are all confessions that he's claiming there. And he says, "It breaks my heart, but my conscience forces me to tell the truth about my past. The world must know I'm the blackest criminal who ever lived. Dun dun dun, surely not." But I like these covers. They're really like they were the sort of covers as a kid that would draw me in. Oh, what's going on here? I must read it. I must find out what's going on with Superman. And the beginning of the book, we see Superman being tied to a table with chains by Supergirl. The idea being that when he sleeps, if he wakes up and the chains are broken and a crime has been committed, he'll know it was him that did it. So he's basically not sure what's going on. Lots of crimes have been happening that seem to be him, and he's trying to work out if it is him or not. Right, but what it turns out to be, you get told straight away, actually. It's kind of like you think it would have been done the other way around, but he would have seen it from his idea, and then later on find out what the actual cause was. But we, the readers, get to find out straight away what it is. Basically, the Superman Revenge Squad had a competition between some of their members, and the two winners, known as the Liquidator Team, are sent with some red K, some synthesized red K, to go and affect Superman with it and enact some plot to end him. So you look at red K here. This is some of the red K that's happened in the past. There was a red K specimen which turned Superman into a metallic giant. There was a red K specimen which turned Superman into a sea serpent. And a red K specimen which turned Superman partly invisible. So some weird stuff that the red K does. Now this synthesized red K that they have does something which, I don't know what it's called now, conscience syndrome, something or other like that. So basically it gives him a bad conscience. It makes him think that he's guilty of stuff that maybe he hasn't done. So what they do, they simulate crimes to make it look like it can only be perpetrated by Superman. So they use their extensor limbs on their ship to get the statue of Iwo Jima Memorial in Washington and turn it into a statue of Superman, something that only Superman could probably have done. You know, so it's like, strange vandals, but obviously it points the finger at Superman. Later on, they get in a metal suit, break through a hole through the wall in the mint, and then they melt some of the coins in the mint using heat ray vision, simulate heat ray vision. But Superman sees it. Great Krypton! What's behind all this? I could think of one explanation, but I hope it's not true. So he's already suspecting himself, but that's probably because of the red K that's affecting him. So yeah, that's interesting. Right, so then he meets up with Supergirl to go back to in the Fortress of Solitude. He's thinking it could be Red K, so he wants to test himself for Red K. So he has to go in this glass chamber, and when the gas goes into it, his body will light up on the sensor, and Supergirl will be able to see if he's got Red K in him or not. So if he flashes red, then it means he's affected with Red K. And as we can see here, he is affected with Red K because you can see the red glow around him. But Supergirl says, there's not the slightest change, Superman. Your body seems perfectly normal. There's no sign of kryptonite radiation. Oh, why would she say that? That's when she ties him to the bed, and we find out that all along it wasn't really Supergirl. It was one of these members of the whatever they were called, the Superman Revenge Squad, the Vindicators, is it? I don't know, the Liquidators. So she's one of the Liquidators. The chain that she wrapped around Superman was treated with a chemical that made it break while he was sleeping, and he wakes up the next day and finds that the Mount Rushmore Memorial has been changed. They wrecked the images of our greatest presidents and carved his own face there. So that's kind of like I wonder if that was homaged in Superman 2 when Zod and the rest of the Phantom Zone villains carved their own faces on Mount Rushmore. Right, I've got a loose staple at the top there on the centre spread. That's rather annoying. Right, and then we don't get to see what happens in this one because that's the end of the story. Basically, they've triggered him into thinking that he is a villain. He writes all these confessions, gives them to a sobbing Lois Lane at the Daily Planet to print, and then he goes off. They think he's going to leave the world, fly off into deep space, never to return, but instead he goes into the fortress and he's about to open up a box of gold kryptonite, which will permanently erase his superpowers. So that's the end of the story. So dun dun dun. Have the Liquidators tricked the Man of Might into giving up his superpowers for good? We'll have the answer in the next issue of Action. So if I want to find out, if you want to find out what happens, you're going to have to buy Action Comics 381. Right, there's actually a couple of pages missing, loose at the first staple. Right, now this second story, Legion of Superheroes, Tales of the Legion of Superheroes, it's called Half a Legionnaire. It's featuring Duo Damsel, who used to be Triplicate Girl before one of her duplicates was killed by Computo or something, the Conqueror. So she's after this guy. She managed to take him out. He's a bit mental, so they send him off to be the psych centre to be cured. And then after that, she's a bit tired out, but Mon-El wants her to go and deliver some papers. So one of them, she decides, one of them is going to stay at home, the other one's going to go and deliver the papers. The one that stays at home goes on a date with a bouncing boy, her beau, whilst Luana 2 goes off to this planet Ikro or Urko or something to deliver papers. Yeah, Luano Durgo is her name. Right, so she seems to be away for a long time, Luana 2, or that's going to call her 2 because I can't say that name very well. And then later on, there's crimes are being committed in Metropolis. They go to see if they can find who's committing these robberies, and they finally find two. Mon-El, Bouncing Boy, and L1 meet up with L2 and this new guy called Namlor. It's the first time she's seen her since she's been away, and she's announced that this Namlor is her fiancé. And it's like, oh, this is all a bit strange. You've been away all this time, and you never come back and let us know what was going on. So it's a bit worrying for L1. Right, so L1 and L2 join back together again, and there's some personality differences to what there was before. Normally their personalities were the same. One fought, the other one fought. One person loved, the other one loved. But it's a bit different now. And the joined L1 and L2 have a dream about what happened to L2 and Ikros. Basically, she suddenly got dizzy, fell out of a sky saucer and was saved by this guy, Namlor. Right, so L1 is worried about L2 and thinks she's changed. She thinks she's gone a bit schizoid. She's not too sure what's going on with her. Then later on, L1 and Bouncing Boy are after these Metropolis villains once again, who are at the Almagonite refinery, stealing the most valuable substance, the rarest substance in the universe. You can see they're hidden in darkness. I'm assuming they're hidden in darkness, these two villains. L1 manages to shoot the woman in the leg, numbing her leg, and then when she joins up later on with L1 and L2, L1 realises she's got a numb leg and realises that the villain was L2. She shot her own sister, her own other half. Her own other half was committing crimes with her strange fiancé, Namlor. So she comes to the conclusion that Namlor has somehow brainwashed her, or he's mentally manipulating her to become a criminal. Bouncing Boy and L1 go to face them, but Namlor is tough. He's much tougher than them, and he's able to what's the word? Overbear? No, I don't know. Manages to defeat them, basically. Manages to overpower them, and L2 is going, yes, kill him, get him, Namlor, squash him like a bug. And you did it, Namlor, now kill him and no one stands in our way. And then suddenly Namlor says, no, I cannot kill, not even for her. And it turns out, I am sorry, my love. When I found the hyper aura around my body which gives me my powers had turned you evil, I should have said goodbye, but I loved you too much. So I humoured you, even stole for you, vainly hoping you'll return to normal. But I cannot kill. I must leave now for both our sakes. You will return to normal in a few days. The radiation will wear off, and you will be as you were, and forget me, I hope. But I will remember what might have been. Farewell forever, my darling. The end. So there you go. That was Action Comics 380. Two tales of heroes becoming villains, or convinced they're villains. So that's it. That's my birthday books. A little closer look at my birthday books for this week. I'll be back again Wednesday where I'll be counting some more of my comics. And back again next Friday where I'll be going through some more of my birthday books in a bit more depth. So tune in if you're interested. Subscribe if you like. And yeah, cheers for watching. There'll probably be some other videos up there as well. When I buy any comics, I'll make videos of that as well. So keep tuned, and thanks for watching. Cheerio.